Hot Reds podcast. Here are your hosts, Ricky Logan and Roger Straz.
Welcome to Red Hot Reds, a Cincinnati Reds podcast hosted by myself, Roger Straz, and Reds on SI writer Ricky Logan. We are back. Well, I am back from vacation. Unfortunately, to not great news. The Reds won the day that I left on vacation on May 9th, and I was like, great, they could just keep winning while I'm gone since they had that 8-game losing streak. So hopefully me being out of the Cincinnati area, it was good luck charm, but not really because they ended up losing the 2 series after that. So we're back here with another losing week, Ricky, and I don't know, man. There's a lot to get into, a lot to talk about. Some moves, some transactions, a viral post made by you as well, put out there that we'll talk about as well. But before we get into all that, how have you been?
Been okay. It's been a rough week. I hate watching this team lose, man. It sucks because we had such high expectations coming into the season, especially with the bullpen. And we're going to touch on that later. But just overall, it's just been a disappointment. And I'm not really sure how I feel at the moment.
Yeah, and it's also the way we lost some real non-competitive games, a game that got decided by a controversial call. We kind of maybe, to be fair, lucky that we didn't go 1-5 this week because the Friday game we won against the Guardians could have gone, belly up. They could have blew that lead as well. Anyway, we'll get into all that. I'm back from vacation, so hopefully I'm not going to get too tongue-tied over my words, but we'll launch into our sponsors before we get this rolling. frostbuddy.com/redhotreds. Check them out. They're a great sponsor. Ricky's got the Frost Buddy there, and he's been drinking it pre-show and during the show as well. So check them out. Supports us. There's the QR code down there in the corner and the website there. They got all sorts of stuff, all sorts of different sizes and adjustable pieces to fit whatever drink you have, plus different logos. The Cincinnati Reds Connect logo, like on Ricky's hat right there, is available. So check them out, frostbuddy.com/redhotreds. Ricky, anything you got to say about them? I'm sure you're a well-satisfied customer.
Yeah, Frost Buddy is awesome, man. I'm so glad that I found these guys. And, I was never sent anything by them. I bought everything that I have here. I'm not paid to say anything from them. Just this here is the Universal Buddy XL. It holds everything from a slim can White Claw all the way up to a 24-ounce Peace Tea or your bottles of beer. It holds your stubby Coors bottles, or it holds your regular Coors can bottles or cans. So all in all, it's great. They also have a 100% leak-proof lid. I've been using that here a lot lately at work. I work at a factory, and it gets hot in there. And I fill this thing up with ice, screw on the thing, fill it up with water, and it keeps ice for 8 hours. So it's been awesome.
Awesome stuff. Also, check out our stuff, youtube.com/@redhotreds podcast. We're also a podcast, so we're on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification button so we get new videos. We're going to have an interview coming up this week, so check that out. Dropping this week with a Reds minor leaguer that's been really lights out. And speaking of lights out, All Gloves Off is our sports network and
nice
Lights
segue.
Out podcast. Yeah, I tried. Lights Out podcast is going to be there Tuesday. So check them out at, I think, 8 p.m. Eastern. Cheap Pop Society, a podcast that now officially is now going to be using our feed, and we'll be posting their shows and All Gloves Off. Fanboys Unleashed as well are joining this month. Now it's May. We're now into it. And it's, the Titans, man, they have always a fun schedule release, just as a aside. So shout out to Mr. First Down and Fanboys Unleashed, and also the social media team for the Tennessee Titans. They always get it done real well. So, but that all out of the way, let's get into the Cincinnati Redlegs. The Ohio Cup, man, we won this last year. I guess, Ricky, best case scenario, we take 2 out of 3 from the Guardians, and we tie, and then we get to keep the cup. But that still feels kind of demoralizing. But this weekend was kind of ups and downs. Like I said, the Friday game could have gone badly with the bullpen nearly blowing it, giving up 4 runs and 5 runs or something like that in the last couple innings. What were your main takeaways from this last series against the Guardians?
Yeah, it was mostly Will Benson didn't show up like he did last year, which isn't his fault by any means. That was a huge series he had last year in both series. But yeah, I mean, all in all, just pitching's just been awful. I'm really happy for TJ Antone coming back and getting the save in game 1 of the series. That was his first save since I believe 2022, and just it's a testament to his work ethic coming back and after 3 Tommy Johns and getting not just back on the mound, but at a major league level in a competitive game, in a competitive situation, and earning a save. Just that was huge from him. And then obviously our guy Elly De La Cruz, he just continues to impress all of us. And just when we think, oh, he might be slowing down, no, he gets even hotter. And it's we're gonna talk about him a lot more later in the show, but he's just spectacular.
Yeah, the Will Benson comment you made, it wasn't like Tito wasn't trying. He batted leadoff 2 out of the 3 games, and went 0 for 6 in those 2 starts. So like, yeah, he was trying that, Tito magic / Will Benson magic against the Guardian stuff. But I want to say he had those 3 fantastic games in Cincinnati against the Guardians last year. So maybe he kind of got it wrong in terms of the combinations. But that leads me to another question with you, Ricky, is the TJ Friedl question. Obviously, TJ has not been playing a lot lately. I think he made a start Saturday or maybe even today for the first time in a while. And he's just – is it finally that Tito's realizing his production is not up to par, up to snuff? Or is it a situation where they're trying to give him rest so he can get back to maybe himself? There's been a lot of transactions that have happened lately. There's a lot of opportunities for some different guys in the minors that are playing pretty well. Noel V. Marte, for example, in the outfield. What do we do there? Like, it feels like it's becoming a situation where TJ Friedl might be not a Cincinnati Red, maybe, or he's just going to be a bench player for going forward.
Yeah, he'd be a pretty poor bench player at this rate. Yeah, I mean, it feels like and we'll talk about this more later with the re-sign situation, but I feel like I don't know what goes on in the clubhouse or what's going on in the front office, but it almost feels like Tito, like he said from the beginning, is only in charge of setting lineups and trying to make the best out of the let's just say 13 position players he's given, plus the 13 pitchers. And he's got to rely on the front office to make the decisions on who gets called up, who gets sent down, stuff like that. And, you can only bat TJ Friedl lead off so many times. And maybe he was doing it to prove a point to the front office, like, hey, guys, I need a leadoff hitter. This guy's not cutting it out. But obviously there's nobody else on this roster outside of Elly, but you can't play Elly 1 through 9. But I feel like him sending him down in the lineup was like, all right, this is obviously not working. And then he didn't produce at the bottom of the lineup either. And one thing I've noticed with Marte, he's been playing a lot of center field down in Louisville, and that could be to get him up to play center and to have an outfield of Steer, Blade, and Marte in center field. And then you would use Myers as your lefty platoon, because obviously Marte hits right-handed pitching better than left-handed pitching. I think hopefully he would realize that. I don't know if he does, but I just feel like Reds fan Brandon tweeted a screenshot of a strike. Was it a 3-pitch strikeout from Friedl today? And it was just so uncompetitive. He should be a DFA candidate if I had one in mind for anything. If they're going to add somebody to the 40-man, let's just say Michael Tolia. I don't think it's going to be him, but he's not on the 40-man. He's been performing in Louisville. Can play the outfield, switch hitter, can also play first. And he would be the move that I think they would make. I mean, they made the move today with Hinds to bring up Higgins because they needed the catcher with the Trevino injury.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but I genuinely think Friedl's days are numbered. And we kind of touched on that during the offseason about him regressing, being 30, turning 31, really starting to kind of regress a little bit last year. He still was like a top 10 center fielder in baseball last year, but he started to show the decline in his speed and his arm strength. And he's not a very good defender. And the one thing you were kind of banking on him doing was drawing walks and getting on base in the leadoff spot, and he's done squat in all of it. He's just been a really poor player this year. And it's unfortunate because I do like TJ Friedl. I like how he plays the game. It's just unfortunate that I just don't think he's a major league starting player anymore.
Yeah. The TJ Friedl question for me is not as dramatic in terms of I'd like to think there may be just something, maybe a niggling injury or something. You know what I mean? Like something small, like a hamstring or something that's bothering him that's maybe causing him to not be 100%. My solution, at least for the immediate, is not maybe DFAing him and bringing up like a Marte, for example. I think Dane Myers should probably be playing more. You know what I mean? Obviously, Tito is trying to do something with putting Benson at the leadoff the last couple times, and that didn't really work. I mean, obviously, it's a small sample size of 2 games, but Dane Myers has shown over the course of the season to be a pretty influential player. He's not killing it. He's still, 240 type hitter, but he seems to be able to hit lefties, which is something the Reds generally struggle with on the whole, but has the, pedigree to play center field and be a leadoff hitter, at least not necessarily maybe 120 games worth. I'm not saying we need to just put him in there every single day, but maybe like 4 out of the 6 games, 3 out of the 6 games, he should be playing center field, at least for the time being. I don't think Marte is ready right now to play center field every day, unless it's like in a capacity where we're playing at Great American Ballpark. You know what I mean? I hate for him to have like a O'Neal Cruz moment that kills his confidence or what have you when he misplays the ball in center, and it's obvious to see. Like that would be something I'd want to prevent. I'd rather have a more experienced Dane Myers out there in like, Truist Park out there in Atlanta or whatever, right? So like I think TJ Friedl hopefully still's got some juice left in the tank. I like to think they're just kind of giving him a pause. They said that all offseason, like you had kind of brought up and we brought up in our show, is Tito said he played too many games last year. 152 out of 162. That's like a high water mark of TJ Friedl. So should we expect 152 out of TJ Friedl? Absolutely not. We should expect maybe 120, maybe. That would be the high water mark I would give him this season, which means now is the time to kind of give him some time, some rest. But right, he has to be productive also off the bench. He can't just be a guy that you have to play to get, you know what I mean? Luckily, Spencer Steer has shown that in the last couple of years, even though they've pushed him through really bad slumps, at the end of the season, he ends up having decent numbers. I don't know if that will be the case for TJ Friedl. If they just keep throwing him out there, he's going to probably have a, like he has right now, below 200 average. So I don't know. Right at the moment, you're right. The long-term future might be Noelvi Marte as your 2027 opening day center fielder at Great American Ballpark. That may be the plan. But right now, I think you got a guy like Dane Myers. Might as well use him more.
Yeah, and I've even been impressed by Blake Dunn. He's hitting 316 to start his big league season up here in the last 7 games. 19 at bats. He's got a home run, 6 hits. He's walking. He's got 3 walks, 5 strikeouts, a stolen base. That stolen base came in like he came in cold off the bench as a pitch runner. So that was huge from him. He's got over a 930 OPS. I think it's 935 OPS. So he's looking good. He's looking way better than he did last year. I think the time in AAA last year helped him out too. I mean, maybe just ride with Blake Dunn and Dane Myers. Dane Myers.
Spoiler alert. He's going to come up later.
Spoiler alert. Talk Dane Myers. Put him in there more with Blake Dunn. Just ride Dunn and Benson and Benson needs to be at the bottom of the lineup, not lead off. But Benson's a pretty good center fielder. And Blake Dunn has a lot of speed and he's playing well. So I want to see him more too.
Yeah, I forgot about Dunn. Dunn would be a good kind of, bridge, I guess you would say. Like we talk about the catching, future position for this Red Legs team. Yeah, I don't know. This Red Legs team, man, like they've been so inconsistent just this month. It's kind of weird, and we're putting it on. We're only focusing on a couple players, but like, you know what I mean? Sal Stewart's been kind of cold of late and been working through things, but I think he's earned the rope because of how great he started off in the month of April and whatnot, that hopefully he'll bounce back toward the end of this month going to June, you know, the Reds' favorite month, June. But this has got to be better than I tweeted this at one of our followers. He was talking about how poor the Reds were doing, and I was like, dude, this has got vibes of May 2024. And I don't know if you remember May 2024, Ricky.
Man, yeah.
That was a terrible, terrible month in Reds history.
9 wins.
9 and 18, I believe, is what it was. And they had that road trip where they won 1 game and 11. So, like, that's how, like, basically the start of this month was for us. So there needs to be some sort of steadying the ship for this team. Obviously, I believe we have the manager to do it, but something's got to be done where we're putting together performances that are at least that don't make the fans feel like we're going to be a 80-win team or going to be a 75-win team. Because this month looks like a team that could go from being in contention in a division that's super competitive to being out of contention by the time All-Star break rolls around, which would be very disappointing to see that. I don't believe that'll be the case. But the trend is going downward right now. We need to pick it back up.
Yeah, going back to Friedel, he's got 5 walks in his last 109 plate appearances and 27 strikeouts, 193, 254, 303 that's 21 hits, 7 RBIs, 2 home runs. But yeah, I'm pulling up his Fangraphs page, looking more of his advanced stuff on here, and you know his plate discipline's not very good. He's swinging at I just went away. He's swinging at 26.5% of pitches outside of the strike zone, and he's only swinging 43% of the time. So, I mean, he's swinging 60% in the zone, but he's chasing a lot more than he has. He was at 17% last year. I mean, that kind of is on par for his career. He's 23% in 2024, 24% in 23. But I think 2025 might have been peak Friedel, and he's just kind of regressed to worse than what has been. And yeah, it just hasn't been good.
And Tito's not a guy that really relies on those analytics. He told TJ Friedel at the beginning of the season, your job is to get on base 2 times a game. No matter how. Hit by a pitch, walk, one of those drag bunts he loves doing, anything to get on base twice a game, right?
Yeah, and those hits that he has are bunts. Like they're not like he's hitting the ball the other way or putting the ball in the gap. Those hits are bunts or the 2 home runs.
But as everyone can see in Cincinnati, he is not getting on base 2 times a game. And that is more common than not that he's been really struggling with all this. And putting him down the lineup was kind of the first step. Putting him on the bench, the second step. I really hope it's not DFA time. I don't think it is. TJ Friedel has been really good to this club. He's done a lot for this team, even in the terrible 2022 season and whatnot. That's I think was his first full season, whatever. And he really kind of cemented his status as like a guy that I think the club should stand by. I don't think this is a situation where we're going to see the last of TJ Friedel. We may see less of him, but I don't think this is the last time we'll see him.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I just if this continues for another month, I just don't see how you can justify having him playing every day. I mean, we've kind of seen that a little bit more with Ke'Bryan Hayes. He just same with him. Matt McClain's at least starting to turn it around a little bit. Spencer Steer's been on fire his last 30 days, so we can see it can happen for guys. Like he can figure it out during the season. I'm not 100% sold on McClain yet, but TJ Friedel's just showing to be uncompetitive at bats too. It's just, it just hasn't been good.
One last thing, I think Friedel's got an option. So like, there's that.
I think he's got 3.
Yeah, he could go down and retool down in Louisville. I'm not saying that's going to fix everything or be the solution, but it could be a temporary fix for at least the 40 man. So he's got 2 options. So there's that. I don't know. I think he could be self-aware enough. I don't think he's got a massive ego that's going to get, totally insulted by the idea. But that's something above Tito's pay grade. So we'll see how that goes in the next couple of weeks if that should be an option on the table.
$3.8 million this year too, by the way.
Yeah, he's still in arbitration for what, one more year?
He's free agent eligible 29.
Couple more years. Okay. So yeah, I think he's not a guy they're gonna cut loose all of a sudden, unless, who knows? There's a lot of things that could happen. We, as Ricky has pointed out in the show, he had no idea that they're gonna DFA Jamer Candelario. So you never know. You never know in this business. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody thought they were going to DFA Jamer Candelario. When it happened,
I didn't think it. I had the question. I put the question out there.
You did, and you spoke that into existence.
It just took a while, not to go back down to memory lane, but like it just took a while for him to get any decision on his rehab assignment. I believe it was the situation that he was in Louisville, wasn't killing it. I don't think, to my knowledge,
no.
And it was kind of like the day had passed where they had to make a decision, and they kind of just slow played it. Anyway, we won't go back to that. That was, anyway, that was 2025, right? Yeah. So that was like probably the best.
That was around this time last year.
Interesting. We'll talk about some DFA in a little bit. Any more about the Ohio Cup recap?
Blade still hitting over 300. He went 0-4 today, but I'm impressed by his start. I wrote about him last night. It came out today. I was just, I think we talked about it. We weren't super high on the signing when they brought him in. He still got 2 years of team control too, by the way.
Really?
Because he was the DFA on a minor league, his team control years. He still had team control when he got DFA'd.
Wow.
But yeah, he spoke to Charlie Goldsmith a few days ago. They talked a little bit about the athletics. He said, it took me a long time. You can't rely on anyone to really help you out in this game. You'll have help. It's there for you, but at the end of the day, it's all on you. It took me a while to realize that. The failures helped. Now that you've had all these experiences, use it to your benefit. Trust yourself and trust your swing. Know your game and trust that you're good enough. And man, it's working for him. I'm just really impressed by him, with how he's having the best start to a season of his career. And if we get this for another year, cheap deal, that's a Nick Krall win right there. Like we'll talk about later with the all Krall team. It's kind of 50-50, which, to be fair, I mean, I think every team's like that. It's just being a small market team and you pour money into these contracts and it's just none of them work. It's fine, but we seem to hit on these minor league deals sometimes. So I'm really impressed with JJ Blade. I don't know if you want to talk about him a little bit more, or we can move on to the Nationals, but I think he could be a long-term 2-3 year option for this team for some of these lower to mid-level prospects to get ready to come up, like a Carlos Jorge or even a Carlos Sanchez. I could see him moving to center field, and I think those would be two, especially Jorge with his defensive ability. He's shown really good defense and from being an infielder. But yeah, just really impressed with Blade.
Yeah, let's get into both, because Blade had a really decent national series. A monster game, game 3 that saved them from being swept for 15-1 on the getaway day. That's like a rare time that the Reds show up. Usually the getaway days, they just fall flat and hit 2 hits, 3 hits. But 15 runs, 2 home runs by JJ Blade, as you said, 6 RBIs just by himself, won the game. If we have nobody else in the lineup, he's been a win for Krall for sure. And obviously we're gonna get into the all Krall team that we put out earlier, but you could put even maybe like a Nate Lowe as well on that plus side for Nick Krall signings as well. Sometimes these things work out, and we might get into this with the Hinds stuff. It's about opportunity. It's about timing for some guys, and if they're able to take advantage of their opportunities, like JJ Blade has so far in the small 3 weeks that since he got called up. He got called up at the end of March. It
was April 22nd or 26th. It was around that time. It was shortly after the Suarez injury.
I think it was the 25th. He actually got, I think it was the funny thing. They like literally got him on a plane or like on a bus, and he showed up an hour before the 25th, the Hall of Fame game induction. And he obviously wasn't going to play because he got there an hour before the game started. But then he hit a home run in the game I went to on April 26th. So that like he got off to a start for his Reds, major league career off to a bang, and then has not stopped hitting since. And it's been kind of a welcomed thing because Sal Stu has kind of tailed off. And like you said, Elly's the only one hitting. So he needs somebody else to kind of help him out for at least the time being while this team is still trying to figure out how to win games. So aside from JJ Bleday, there was not many highlights in this national series. It got off to a bad start. Like you said, Ricky talked about pre-show. They lost 10-4 on Tuesday and then ended this week losing 10-3. So like that just had kind of surmised like what happened this week. Basically, they just started off poorly, ended poorly. But in the middle, they had some highlights, a little bit of controversy. I don't know. Where do you want to start here? Do you want with the national series?
Yeah, so I guess we could probably tie in the last start today with the first start on Tuesday because it was Brady Singer on both games. He didn't look good in either game. He pitched 3 2/3 on Tuesday. Gave up 3 home runs. I think 2 were back-to-back. Just 2 strikeouts, a walk. He got hit in the leg on a comebacker, I think. Tried to pitch through it, gave up the back-to-back home runs, and they pulled him. Yeah. And then so Singer's just really been a disappointment this year. 5.79 ERA as of the national start. I'm not sure what his ERA is now. 6.26, so it's up. Friedel goes 1 for 5 in his last game at leadoff on Tuesday, 3 strikeouts. Elly goes 2 for 5. Stewart goes 3 for 5. That was kind of like his last big game because I think he went 0 for 11 after that. McLean has really done better. He really kind of did good in the last game of the series, but Benson goes 0 for 2. Tyler Stevenson's just been really bad this year. I think Clay Snowden tweeted out a picture of like Shaq sleeping on a bed. It was like Tyler Stevenson during a contract year.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, if you want to talk more about the Tuesday game, just overall, just Singers has been a disappointment. And then there was only 5 walks on Tuesday. And Sam Moll only pitched a third of an inning. Luis May gave up a home run, had 5 strikeouts. Connor Phillips walked 2 in an inning and 2/3. Santillan just don't know what's going on with him. He's been really bad this year. I don't know if it's just the fatigue from last year carrying over into this year. If his velocity is way down. He's down like 3 miles per hour on his fastball. And then Pierce Johnson looked okay. He had a walk in the 9th, but just it sucks, man. Just they hit 6 home runs in game 1. They had 3 off of Singer, 2 off of Moll and May, and then Santillan gave up a home run. It's just that, and then when you go 1 for 12 and with runners in scoring position, just not good. I don't know what else we could say besides that they weren't good. They were just really bad. And then I guess if you go into the game after that on Wednesday, they lose again. It's just been a theme. I think they're still in last place, right? They got to be.
The Reds?
They're 5 games out from the Cubs. They're tied with the Pirates.
Yeah.
And then the Cardinals, man, they're 27 and 19. I think if I remember right, I don't want to say that I did this, but I think when we talked to what's his name? We talked to him on his show.
Tommy,
yes. We talked about the division, and I think I think I said that the Cardinals, they project as bad, but they could have like a 2023 Reds type season if Walker can figure it out, and he's figured it out.
Yep.
And moving on from Arenado, maybe freed up some younger talent. It's just having youth on your team can really help. But getting back to the Reds, they lose again on Wednesday. That was Santillan. He blew the game on that one, if I remember right. And it just, I don't understand. That was the game with Benson at leadoff. He goes 0 for 2 with a strikeout. Pinch hit him with Dane Myers. He goes 0 for 3. Elly goes 2 for 5. Stewart goes 0 for 4. Blade goes 1 for 3. Stevenson hit the grand slam. That was like his highlight of the year. And then, I mean, Friedel goes 0 for 1 and then gets pinch hit for Blake Dunn. And that was kind of the last we saw of Friedel for a little while. I don't know. I don't know. I guess kind of tying back into Friedel. I mean, maybe they just do an IL stint for him and just have him sit for 20 days or whatever, and then send him up to Louisville, see if he does anything there, and then you DFA him. But it was just sad. But then they cap it off with the 15-1 win, and Chase Burns just looks like a Cy Young pitcher. You can't say enough things about Chase Burns. Just I tweeted it last week. You weren't on the show last week, but I tweeted that on Sunday. I said, I'm sorry. I want to sincerely apologize to Chase for wanting to take Charlie Condon over Chase Burns.
Right.
Which Chase Burns wasn't on my radar, to be fair.
Nobody.
And we were all begging for an outfielder, and there was 2 available, and we picked the pitcher, which was the Reds thing to do, and it's obviously the right thing to do, and it's paying off. But I'll let you have the floor, but I was just really disappointed from Santillan, and there's just the sad part is there's just no pitchers that can come up to save this team, because for one, you'd have to make a roster move to bring up Trevor Kunsel if you were to do that, but he's had his struggles with walks. And then Kyle Nicholas? He just hasn't looked good. He's been walking guys, and maybe Maxwell, but he struggles with his command too. So I don't know. If another one you could make a move for, I guess it'd have to be a roster move. But Lyon Richardson, he's been looking fairly well in Louisville. Yeah, maybe you do that. I don't really know, but there's so many players that you'd have to make a roster move to make it work, and I don't know who you do that for.
Yeah, I'll put a pin in that for a second. Full disclosure, being on vacation, I didn't see any of these games, but I heard about a bunch of them, especially the game they lost 8-7 with the controversy of the ground rule double or home run, fan interference stuff. Get in that in a second. The game one is disappointing because it's that typical Reds thing where, like you said, they barely hit, and then the other team takes advantage of Great American Small Park and hits 6 homers. So you're just like, okay. So, like, not saying that has to happen every single game for the Reds. They got to hit 6 home runs. But, like, a lot of teams seem to take advantage of that fact and get some wins over on the Reds in that fashion. They obviously didn't pitch well that game either. With Brady Singer has been kind of really struggling and trying to fight through stuff. He seems to be the type of guy that does not want to go on the IL if he doesn't have to. So he'll battle through whatever. He got hit in the foot earlier this year too, did the same kind of thing. So, like, it's very frustrating. Obviously, JJ Bleday has been a bright spot and kind of been helping to keep this team competitive. But the game they lost on Wednesday, the 8-7 loss, we can talk about this a little bit. I saw the highlights. I saw some takes. I saw a bunch of people ripping this guy. I saw a bunch of people that just thought, what are you doing? But I think I want to say Bryce Spalding said, like, hey, the ball made his glove after he caught it go below the yellow line. He caught it almost above the yellow line, and it's tight. It's a tight call. Obviously, the outfielder made a big deal of it, and they reviewed it and everything. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's come from the Nationals to review it officially. It's not like an automatic challenge to New York. But anyway, I didn't see too much problem with that. The problem is obviously the bullpen blowing it up and losing the game. Obviously, Big Tony is the heir apparent to the closer role, but he's been struggling lately. And the thing that I've been kind of like really cringing about is like April 25th, the game that was on Fox, they put the graphic, best bullpen in baseball, 2.45 ERA. And since then, it has been a mess, a huge mess. And it's just gotten worse and worse and worse with injuries to Pagan. Ashcraft is not looking great. Guys are giving up homers left and right. guys are walking. You know what I mean? Even a guy like that we really like in Connor Phillips has been really inconsistent. I don't know what the solution is. Going back to what you're talking about and who you bring up, Jose Franco is my answer to your question, by the way, of who you bring up, because I feel like he could have been on this staff since opening day as he was and stayed. They've obviously he's got options and they got flexibility because they want to get a guy like Kyle Nicholas, who they traded our top 15 prospect of Tyler Callahan. They want to get him something to like see, but obviously, like you pointed out, he's not it either. He can maybe do it in AAA because the hitters there are not as maybe disciplined, but like I don't think he's a major leaguer right now either. Same with Luis May, not a major leaguer right now. He's just not looking at. Maxwell might be an option since he's already on the 40-man, but Jose Franco hopefully will get more opportunities here. TJ Antone has been the bright spot out of the bullpen. And this is a guy that hasn't pitched in like forever at the major leagues, So like 2023, I want to say was his last full appearance. That's kind of crazy. Like, I don't know. It's a mess. And we can get into it, I guess, now since we kind of already launched into that topic of walks. But do you have anything else about the Nationals before we move on to the bullpen?
Yeah, so I did want to say this just to put it out there. I'm not blaming the fan for the loss of that game. I think everybody needs to realize that they were the team was 3 for 15 with runners in scoring position, and they left 5 on with the bases they left 5 runners on with 2 outs. So they had opportunities to bring in these guys. And obviously you had the 4-run score on the Stevenson Grand Slam. But other than that, they were terrible with runners in scoring position. They left 8 on base, and four of them were left in scoring position with 2 outs. So just overall, I think we're not doing this, but people just need to stop with blaming the fan for the game. And it's sort of like the Bartman, it wasn't his fault because we saw the next play, the shortstop olayed it and just missed it. And obviously once Steer got the second, we didn't bring him in either. So, yeah.
Yeah. That obviously there's so many things. It's kind of like when Elly had that botched play in the 10th inning. Like that wasn't what lost the game for that game as well. But I don't know. The 15-1 felt good, but it didn't paper over all the issues that this team has. Right, 1 game, 15 or 14-run win helps at least for the fans that came out there, and also just the run differential if you're one of those guys that cares about the run differential. But I don't know. It felt like a situation that this team doesn't play well against the Nationals. Like I feel like I say this almost every time that they play the Nationals. In 2023, when they had to win the series in August against the Nationals at home, got swept.
Yeah.
That killed the 2023 season kind of playoff chances just immensely. And then 2024 and 2025, I feel like the Nationals seem to get us either at home or in Washington. But, yeah, moving on to the bullpen. This bullpen, I think I saw the stat, has the most walked-in runs or the second most walked-in runs in the whole Major League Baseball. And this is like after coming off, like I said, the April 25th, saying that it was like the best bullpen in baseball. It feels like they've done a 180 completely back the other way, that they are – it's just obviously it started all the way back to the beginning of this month with the Pirates and then the Cubs walking in runs to lose games. And it just hasn't seemed to stop. I don't know. Is this a consequence of the ABS? Is this a consequence of just poor command? Is this the consequence of, like you said, with a guy like Santillan, that it's like it's fatigue? There's many reasons this happened. Pagan's not on top of his game. He's going into age 35, 36 season. There's a lot of things. Our young guys like May and Maxwell, they're not ready. We need somebody to kind of fix this, and I don't know what it is. It's Derek Johnson ultimately who's in charge of director of pitching for the Reds, but it's just been a mess this month.
Yeah, so I'm trying to do the math here on the walks for the week. So far, it's not looking good. To answer your question about the ABS, I think that could play a factor. Just trying to like nitpick the zone a little bit more, and then you're trying to finesse more and you're just missing. But overall, like I think we're seeing from Abbott, he's improved slightly with his walks over the last few starts.
Yeah.
And it's just been the bullpen. I just don't know. Other than I think it was the Lodolo start, he gave up 4 walks on Wednesday, or 3 walks on Wednesday. Yeah, it's hard to tell. But what's really disappointing is the amount of walks with the bases loaded. I think they've already surpassed their season total from last year, and they're probably going to surpass the season record all time, probably by next month. If they keep it with this pace, they had 32 walks this week. And that's just, it's not going to cut it. Like, you can't do that and expect to win games, which they haven't done. They've won 2 games this week, right? So I don't know what the fix is, because obviously you can't just rest everybody. You know, Connor Phillips allowed 2 walks in today's game, and I just don't know. Like, Singer did strike out 6. He just gave up 3 home runs. He's given up, I think, 6 home runs in his last 2 starts, and it feels like he's allowing just like 100 home runs this year. And just the walks as a whole. I mean, how many times would they walk? 7 straight batters in that Pirates game?
Yeah.
And then Ashcraft, was it yesterday? He walked. It was 3 straight batters, 4 pitch walk, 4 pitch walk, 4 pitch walk, and then he just threw a middle pitch just trying to get one over, and they clobbered it for like a 2-run double. It's just, I don't know what the fix is. Like we talked about, there's just not really a player that you could bring up to fix it, and that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Pierce Johnson kind of left on bereavement leave for a little bit. I like to think he can be used a lot more. I thought when they signed him that he'd be kind of the Scott Barlow, where he'd be pitching almost every other day, if not every day, for this team. So I'd like to see that a lot more. He's obviously, they have 3.93 ERA is pretty good for this Reds bullpen out of Pierce Johnson. So I'd like to see that a little bit more from him. The walks, I don't know, man. Like you said with Ashcraft, I don't know what the solution is. If they're just not being aggressive, if, like I said, they're trying to be finessing the zone a little bit more than usual. Because it felt like before that a guy like Ashcraft, he just pound the zone. He challenged guys, right? It's not like a guy that shies away from that kind of stuff. And, he wears his emotions on his sleeves when he does get one over on guys and strikes them out. So, like, maybe it's approach. Maybe it's just, I don't know. They've got some advanced scouting on this bullpen to lay off certain pitches, and the Reds haven't really adjusted back. So it's a good question. It's very frustrating as a fan to see this, because this is not how winning baseball clubs play, right? Like, this is not, you don't give away at bats. You don't give away walks. Like, that's something that good teams will take advantage of. Like you said, the Guardians take advantage of it this weekend. Very easily put away the Reds the last 2 games with the mistakes they made. And then just absolute killers walking in guys. That has to stop. We can't do that anymore. This is becoming an issue. But I feel like it's a trickle-down issue, because we haven't had stellar starting pitching since April. If you got a guy like Abbott who's starting to come back online, but still he only goes 5 innings. He's still got 4 more innings. We got to get outs, right? And Brady Singer has not been an innings eater. If anything, the bullpen is almost like, come on, Brady, get us to the 5th. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he hasn't gotten out in the 5th in a while. So there's that. The only guy that's really doing it is Chase Burns. Hopefully Lodolo can be that guy if he's starting to hopefully get more comfortable. But again, we need something, and that's probably why they got a guy like Chris Paddock, who actually pitched well on Saturday. So, like, they probably need arms. If anything, if they're competitive, Ricky, I think at the trade deadline, I know they're getting Hunter Green back, but they probably should add another starter, and not necessarily a top line guy, not necessarily somebody that we're gonna give away the farm for, but maybe just somebody that's on a maybe expiring contract, last year control, just gonna, like a Littell last year, right? That kind of situation. Hopefully that's the situation will be in July, not necessarily on the other end where we're selling off Brady Singer, but we will see.
Yeah, Abbott's really kind of figured it out. He's walked 8 in his last 3 starts, but he is really looking better. His ERA over his last 7 games is down to 4.72, but really 3 of those have been really good. If you go back to his game logs, just the Cleveland game, he gets to win 5 innings, 4 hits. I think it was the Houston game was really his best outing of the season. 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. And then it kind of goes back to April 30th against Colorado is when he kind of really started to figure it out. His ERA as of April 30th was 5.97. And then now it's down to 4.21. So he's cut it down almost a full run and a half. It's good to see him figuring it out. But Chase Burns has been undoubtedly the best pitcher on this team. And he's really stepped up when we needed him the most, because you lose, your ace of Hunter Green, and he goes out there and he's, looking like a legit Cy Young candidate. And, does it continue when Green comes back? Maybe. Do they keep him on an innings limit? Because I haven't really heard anything more about that since before spring training. Yeah. I think if you kind of left to let it ride until he tells you he can't do it anymore. I think Tito, there's one thing I can give Tito credit for, is he knows when the pitching staff is not feeling it. And, I think he's eventually going to do that with Santillan, with how bad he's been. He's not going to run him out there in the 7th or 8th inning much longer. I think he's going to give him maybe another shot or two, but if he continues to pitch the way he has, he's going to take him out of that role. And we saw that with Ashcraft. We were clamoring on him with his ability, and then he gives him more pressure situations, and he just starts walking people. Yeah. So I don't know. I think this team really just struggles from the fact that they don't have a true closer, because even Pagan I don't think is a true closer. He was a closer a few years ago, but he really kind of got away from that role prior to coming back here. And he wasn't going to be a closer the first year that we had him in 24, right? 2024, because he missed with injury. He came back last year. Right. He wasn't going to be a closer in 24. And he kind of stepped up into that role when Alexis Diaz struggled and kind of took it from him. And, I think it's just waiting for that next guy to come up and just take it from him, and no one's done it yet.
No, absolutely not. There is a guy, though, I hear in Boston that doesn't strike. It strikes out a lot of guys and walk a lot of guys, and the Boston's kind of out of it. So maybe that's the trade acquisition that we're.
Yeah, and he was hugging some guys the other day too. Looked like he might have thought something was coming up.
Yeah, maybe. Any thoughts about the bullpen going forward? Hopefully, we'll have more positive things to say about them next week. Hopefully.
Yeah, it's been a disappointment.
Yeah, especially because we always talk about, it's the thing that Tito feels like he can control the most and has the most sense of, right? Or has the most wherewithal of when to plug and play guys. So it's been, like you said, disappointing. And hopefully this is the last time we talk about it in this way. We'll see.
For sure.
But Ricky, you set out a super viral post out there, and obviously something that gets the fans going when we talk about our president of baseball operations, former general manager, Nicholas Krall. He has had some blunders over his time. He's been around since
2018. He's been with the team forever. Since 2008, I think. But
yeah, that's what it was. 2008, I think, was the first year. But now in the front office, executive role, 2018, and we have put together, for your viewing pleasure, the all Nick Krall team here, and it is full of some doozies. And I don't even know where you want to start, Ricky, because we got some guys that are currently on this team too. That's disappointing. That hopefully will. I don't know. We'll have to figure out the Key Brian Hayes situation some way. I don't know if it's a trade or just kind of sitting him and not playing as much. But anyway, where do you want to start with this Nick Krall team?
Yeah, so full disclosure, the catcher position was kind of just finding a player to put on there because Kirk Casale was a pretty serviceable player for the Red Legs for a little while. It was just his last year that he really wasn't doing well. And then obviously you had Tyler Stevenson as your catcher, so you weren't expecting him to play every day anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I think it all kind of starts with Will Myers. That was kind of like the first move. And he was very open and honest when he made that signing. He said, we want you to come in and just prove it for 1 year and then go sign somewhere else." And he didn't. He hit his 10 years of service time and off he goes. Shogo Akiyama was the first Japanese player the Reds ever signed, and by the looks of it, it's probably going to be the last. And he he just had a terrible career for the Reds. But I think the two biggest ones that really stand out are Mike Moustakas and Jamer Candelario.
Yeah.
Moustakas was more for injuries, and Candelario is just pure disappointment. But I think if Moustakas stayed healthy, he might have somewhat earned his contract. And I'm sure you can touch on this one more. The Gavin Lux one for me too really wasn't about the production per se. It was really just giving up Mike Sirota. And he eventually became a top 100 prospect. I think he was a 4th round pick in 24, if I remember right. And he blossomed into a top 100 prospect, obviously for the Dodgers. And yeah, it's just overall, all in all, it's just this is hilarious, sad. Frankie Montas had a really good opening day start. Got us Joey Weimer, which turned into Brady Singer.
Yeah.
And I probably could have put Brady Singer on that starting pitcher line.
Ouch.
To be fair, but to give Singer credit, like he pitched really good last year. Everything you could have hoped for last year. They should have capitalized on that and traded him during the offseason and got something out of him, because he's obviously going to give you a far less return this year than he does last year. But I don't know where you want to go with this.
I guess the premise of this, obviously, I think I don't know. Some people had some comments of like, if you want people to take you seriously, you got to do this, do that. I don't know if we want to be taken seriously completely sometimes, Ricky. I think we want to sometimes have a little bit of laugh, because sometimes it keeps us from crying. We are obviously covering this Red Legs team from the majors down to the Dominican Summer League. So we do try to have some level of expertise in this. But the premise of this whole team was we thought they were going to deliver a little bit more than they actually did. Top the list, obviously, leadoff hitter Jamer Candelario is the top of that list. Ke'Bryan Hayes falls in that category because he's such a Tito guy where it's defense first, run saving first, that his offense has just been dreadful. So that's the reason for those two guys. The Mike Moustakas thing gets me kind of on this list because it's just the way he talks about his time in Cincinnati, and he's kind of bitter and angry, I believe, was some of the comments when he was in Colorado or whatever it was. I think was his next stop. So that's kind of was that, and he was never really in great shape. He seemed like he was on the other side of his career, the way he played the game. Neither here nor there. Maybe that's just how he goes about his off seasons or whatever. Gavin Lux is on here also because I don't know if you remember this, Ricky. He was our cleanup hitter for a long time. This is a Tito thing of right, left, right, where it needed to have a left-handed hitter after the right-handed potential, Elly de la Cruz. So like that's the reason why it gets here on me, is because everyone's like, oh, we had some good moments with Gavin. He also had to play left field. I don't know if you remember that as well.
Yeah.
And again, that's not his fault per se, because and also DH'd a lot because of the fact he's not a major league outfielder, in my opinion. He just had to play the position because he had Matt McLean at second, right? And you had Elly at short. And he played a little bit of third, I believe, when we were trying to figure out who our third baseman was going to be, in terms of if it was going to be Marte or CES or Gavin Lux. that's the main reason. That also, as you pointed out, losing a top 100 baseball prospect in Mike Sirota. Although I will give this little caveat, and I feel like I'm stealing a lot of Bryce Spalding stuff. Mike Sirota is still in high A, which is like our Dayton team, and he's turning 23. So it's kind of like, I think he'd be kind of in the double A, triple A level when he's starting to be like, 23, 24 years old. So he's ready to play Major League Baseball. Neither here nor there. I don't know what the Dodgers have such a chock full of talent system that maybe the reason why he's turning 23 at high A is because he's got nowhere to go up to the double A. You know what I mean? There's no spot for him. Maybe. I don't know. Either way, it's still kind of a sore spot for us prospect guys that we kind of talk about that. The Will Myers one is hilarious because it was a 1.2 or 1.5 million and he played like 10 games maybe and they just got DFA'd. So like there's that. Connor Joe is just kind of a joke. Ricky, I forgot about this one. We really should have had like an honorable mention bench spot for maybe a Ryan Vlad or a Vladi. I don't know how to say it. He's a guy that you talked about him a lot last year. You liked how he was playing really well at Louisville. He's actually playing a lot for the Tampa Bay Rays and playing well. And I believe the Rays are in first place or second place in that division. So that's kind of it's all about opportunity sometimes. And we can get into it when we talk a little bit maybe about Hinds and whatever. Kevin Newman one, I think, is just kind of a ode to our kind of old joke, Fart Newman. Because I don't know if we've had a bad shortstop. We've had some pretty decent shortstops in our time.
I had some people ask about Santiago Espinal.
Oh yeah,
he was brought in after the Marte suspension, and he was great in 24. He was great. Probably not the best word. He was better than what you could have hoped for.
Yeah,
serviceable. Yeah. He had a career high in home runs. He had a career high in stolen bases. Overall, was utilized in the perfect situation, and I think that's what Tito saw when he had him hitting third for a while, and hitting second in the lineup.
Yeah,
hitting in the 2-hole for a while. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And I'll give him credit. Like, he does make contact. It's just really weak contact. But I wanted to highlight Akiyama a little bit more. It was 3 years, $21 million, and he didn't make it to his third year. And just thinking about the money with that, I should have put the dollar amount with each contract because Mike Moustakas, Candelario, his was 3 years, $45 million.
Yep.
Mike Moustakas signed with the Reds, 4 years, $64 million.
Ouch.
Yeah. Frankie Montas had the highest salary in one season up until the Nick Martinez arbitration or qualifying offer. Yeah. His was like $17.5 million. Yeah. Pull this back up. Gavin Lux made like $6 million, I want to say.
Yeah.
Ke'Bryan Hayes is making a pretty good amount.
7 or 8 million.
Yeah. There's a lot of money on this list that never worked. Just as a whole. Ke'Bryan Hayes, 8 years, $70 million. He's making $7 million this year. He's making $7 million next year, $8 million in 28, $8 million in 29. A club option in 2030 for $12 million, which that's probably going to get declined.
Yeah, for sure. To pick up with the Kurt Casale one, because you talked about it a little bit, I think I was kind of the thought process there was because the 2023 team carried 3 catchers at one point during that season, and Kurt Casale was one of them. So it's not trying to scapegoat him. The shouts out from the guys on social media at X or whatever, Jose Trevino, and I think Greg Hoffner kind of talked about the 3 years, $15 million is kind of not a good contract right now, especially because he's not been playing a lot this year, has not been really productive. He had a good start to last season, but he's going to be on this team in 2027. And you talk about, bridge guys to Alfredo Dano, I guess, right? Like, I guess Trevino is going to be that bridge guy, but he's not really living up to the 3 years, $15 million at the moment.
I think we could probably talk about this more on the minor league show, but he hasn't really played a whole lot yet. But I think Ryan McChrystal is going to be that bridge guy. I think he's going to come up next year and then catch for 2 years. And then, honestly, this might be a hot take, but Duna might not even be a catcher long term. He's kind of struggled with pass balls and errors, which he's young. He's only played 2 full seasons as a catcher, so I give him that. I'm not cutting the leash short by any means on him, but you don't know. I mean, you just don't know. I mean, Joey Votto was a catcher when he got drafted, and he was the best first baseman the Reds have had in 30 years. So who knows? I mean, he's probably not going to play anything other than first base or DH, but I mean, you just never know with these guys. And McChrystal's looked really good, especially in high A. I think once he plays more in double A, they've kind of fast-tracked him. He hasn't played more than like 50 games at any level, I think, if I'm doing quick math. But I think he could be in AAA at the end of this year, plays more. And who knows, maybe he's in the major league roster at summertime next year and kind of takes that job away from Trevino next year. Because the way it's looking is going to be, I'm guessing, Trevino next year and probably Will Banfield or PJ Higgins as your catchers next year, because I don't think there's any way you bring back Tyler Stevenson.
Yeah, no, the writing's on the wall. I think there was even a quote in spring training that he has not heard anything from the Reds front office to his agent or any such messages going back and forth. So, and he's not playing like he's coming back next year either, the way that he's hitting 180 something. So yeah, it's going to be rough. Although our catchers are in a good spot. Talking about minor leaguers, we got some decent catchers outside of Dano, like you said, McChrystal, Jacob Friend, who has been playing really well down there. But speaking of minors, just the news of the day for today, the Reds DFA Rece Hinds off the 40-man, and there was a lot of speculation as to what it was. Obviously, the Reds had to make a move to get PJ Higgins onto the 40-man to have just a backup to Stevenson and or start probably a couple games this week. What were your first thoughts when you heard about Rece Hinds being DFA'd?
I was surprised. I guess it kind of felt like the writing was on the wall for it, but I think he's one of those guys who just needs another chance somewhere else to really get a fair shot. And kind of going back to my Tito comments about him not having as much, control over the roster and everything. Mm-hmm. He had this to say about Rece Hinds. He said, maybe for his sake, I really hope he gets an opportunity he didn't get here. I love the kid. There are obviously tools there. Sometimes things have a way of working out for guys. And I don't know. It just makes me see, but yeah, you're making the lineups and you're not playing him or whatever, but he did get a pretty consistent run for the first probably week that he was up, and he was just swinging at everything. He didn't look like he was looking like in AAA, and he had a couple clutch hits, but I think overall just probably really didn't get the fair shot you would hope for. Obviously, when he came up in 24, he won the Player of the Week his first week, just set the record for the most extra base hits in your first so many games, and looked awesome. But then he came back to earth and started swinging at everything and struck out. Just, I don't know. I can't really say I'm surprised, but it is kind of surprising.
It's surprising because there wasn't much anything like notice of that this was going to come, right? Like there was no writing, there was no like little leaks out there or anything like that. Not that the Reds are really good at messaging anyway in certain situations, but it was just kind of out of left field. And you talked about Noel V. Marte playing a lot of center field. They were playing Rece Hinds a lot in center field as well. So like they had some potential plans of him maybe playing that position at the major league level. Maybe. It's most surprising because our outfield is not great at the moment, outside of JJ Bleday, right? Outside of, a little bit, maybe, Spencer Steer coming online. We have not had a very productive outfield. And obviously the 2025 International League MVP is a guy that I believe deserves an opportunity. It's kind of stinks because we're not in a situation where we're a terrible team where we can run out Rece Hinds 120 games, much like 2024 Reds did with Will Benson, to see exactly what kind of Will Benson is. Rece Hinds seemed to get the short end of the stick of you can't even let him have 60 games, right? You can't even let him have 90 games. And that's disappointing because he's been killing it in AAA for 3+ seasons now. It just doesn't seem that this team is going to have the opportunity to allow him to play a significant amount of playing time. And that was my first reaction, is that he might need just a team that will allow him to go up there and play every single day at the major league level, not AAA, but the major league level, like a team that may not be in contention, for example. Or, I mentioned it earlier in the show, Ryan Vilade, he's playing almost every day for the Tampa Bay Rays, and he didn't play at all for the Reds last year, aside from the one infamous play that he put in the outfield of not catching the 27th out for Mr. Nick Martinez, I believe. But anyway, that is kind of like what it is about baseball. There's 29 other teams. Hopefully Rece Hinds can find a home. I think that the situation is that they're going to probably have to trade him. I think there's going to be someone that will want him. Seeing the stats that he puts up, that's my gut feeling.
Yeah, and Reds Daily 4, Greg Kuffner, he put out there that, obviously it feels like they should try to trade him and get something out of him because he does have potential. So he's still just 24, 25. Yeah. He's not old, but he's not super young, but he's got fairly little major league experience. And I think a team could take a chance and trade for him. You're probably not going to get a lot. I think you get more than cash considerations. But
oh, really?
CES got cash considerations, and I think Hinds is a far better prospect than CES. So maybe you get a young DSL, ACL, FSL kind of player and just take a chance on somebody, and maybe somebody, let's just say the Rockies, can throw out a 17, 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid and just go, here, we'll swap you, because I think Rece Hinds and Coors probably hits ones into the Rocky Mountains. So yeah, he probably does fairly well there. And he's probably going to see better pitches just being on that team. I don't know. It's disappointing, but at the end of the day, it's the core that we had is slowly dwindling away. And, I think we were all fearing that Matt McLean was kind of on that path, and he seems to be picking it up here a little bit better. And we're seeing that with TJ Friedl. He's really declining, and Marte just can't stay up here. And really the last two from that core of 2023 for the offensive side is Elly and McLean and Steer to a point. Yeah. And on the pitching side, it's just Andrew Abbott. That's all that's left.
Yeah. Ashcraft's a 23 debut as well?
No, he was 21, I think. Maybe 22.
Oh, wow. Okay. Anyway, yeah, the core is kind of willing. You got Marte maybe to be reunited sooner because he's been sooner than later because he's been playing pretty well down there in Louisville. But yeah, it is kind of disappointing, and kind of wish that there would be I wish the best for Rece Hinds because I think he deserves an opportunity somewhere. Hopefully not in division for sure. I don't want to see him show up in a Pirates uniform and start killing us there or something like that. But anywhere else, Colorado sounds like a great place for him to kind of restart and hopefully
Colorado, Angels, somebody like that. Just it'd be our luck he'll go to the Dodgers and just hit 300 with 70 home runs and just turn into a Hall of Famer and be the perfect teammate for when Elly goes there.
Yeah, all right. I was going to try to transition to a more positive topic with Elly, but now that you mentioned that, good luck, Rece Hinds. But we've got a guy here that's been playing pretty well for this Red Legs team, and we had actually a little bit, difficult finding our Red Hot Red player of the week. But we settled on Mr. Elly de la Cruz. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he's pretty good. And he's been putting up some decent stats amid this kind of a terrible May that we've been having. But yeah, I'll let you take it away for Elly.
Yeah, 13 for 29. He had a home run on Sunday, 8 runs scored, 2 RBIs, a stolen base. Just moved up to the tool hole on Wednesday after they kind of shuffled the lineup around, and he's just excelled in that role too. And I think we all got a little bit excited. I don't know if you saw the post, Roger, but there was Elly posted a Instagram story of him eating steak at Jeff Ruby's with his agent.
Yeah,
and
that guy.
I think people were like, "Oh my gosh, he signed a contract," and Joe Danneman had to ruin our hopes, and he reached out and he said, "No, there's no talks of a contract with him." So we're still waiting. We'll be waiting until he's gone. But while he's here, we're going to enjoy every moment because he's having a career season on both sides of the field. He's hitting well from both sides of the plate. He's playing excellent defense. I think he's got 3 errors on the year, maybe 4, but just looking incredible. And I posted a clip of him today. He hit his 11th home run on today, Sunday, and he hit his 11th home run last year on May 27th. And his batting average, he's hitting over 300 at the moment. And he was that player in the minor leagues. He was a 300 hitter and hit a lot of home runs and stole a lot of bases. He's not stealing as many bases, but he's kind of picking his spots. And when you have plays like McLean today getting thrown on a double, he rounds second, they throw it to third, they throw him out at second because he was just caught in no man's land. You can't really afford to try to be too aggressive on the base pass when you're the only one really being smart out there. So yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about Elly. I'm so happy he's here. I'm just glad to see him improving and really showing us the player that we all knew he could be. And I don't think he's done yet.
Absolutely not. Yeah. And I want to say that Jeff Ruby steak dinner, was that celebrating it's opening up like a charity thing or the UDF new flavor thing? Hopefully we'll have some more dinners so that we can get our hopes up again. But anyway, my guy that I was hoping would get the Red Hot Red of the Week, JJ Bleday, he had a heck of a week, obviously in the midst of a terrible week for the Reds. But like the reason why Elly scored 8 runs is because JJ was knocking him in. He had 10 RBIs this week and hitting 2 home runs. Obviously, 2 home runs and 6 RBIs. It was in that one getaway game. So maybe there's a little bit of stat padding going on. But still, since he's been called up in late April, he's been fantastic for this team. And I can't say enough good things because in the midst of, Sal Stu kind of cooling off, someone had to help kind of get this offense to at least be somewhat competitive. And I think JJ has been a guy that's going to be here. I think I've been seeing a lot on socials extend JJ because obviously
I was one of them.
Yeah, they had that poor news I think came out a week ago or so that they don't have enough money to extend Mr. Sal Stewart, and I was like, okay, great. So now we're just gonna mire here in the 60 years of Sal Stewart, just like we're gonna do with Elly. So this is gonna be one of those situations. But one guy that hopefully can maybe get extended is JJ Bleday. He's got 2 more years of contract control, right? Team control, you said. So maybe you can get a couple more years added on to that. Get him into his late mid 30s or whatever, and maybe be a mainstay because we certainly could use some outfield power. We haven't had a consistent outfield power since Nick Castellanos and Scott Schebler. So there's that. So
I was thinking about this too. We're gonna have some competition for the Red Hot Red of the Month next week because Spencer Steer's hitting 311 with the 472 slug in his last 30 games. But Spencer Steer was another one we were talking about for this week too. He's hitting 355. He's walked just as much as he struck out. 5 RBIs, a home run. Just looking like 2023 Steer again. And shoulder injuries are finicky. You're making a lot of moving parts in a swing, and it takes a long time to get comfortable with it. And we're seeing him better in the outfield, a little bit better in the outfield, and really, really producing at the plate, just being a good overall hitter. And then Matt McClain too. I wrote about him the other day after the Nationals game. I think he had an offer today, or no, he had a double today. He's just, if we can get just some of 2023, I think people just think 2023 or nothing. If we could get 60% of the player that he was in 2023, I think that's a win. Just better than last year. Not as good as the year 23, but in his last 7 games, he's hitting 292 with a 667 slug, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, and he's got 5 walks and just 3 strikeouts. So he's really looking a lot better at the plate. So we've had 3 bright spots out of like 15 negatives. So it's really been good to see McClain really starting to look a little bit better out there too.
Yeah, good point on that. Because you think with 4 guys hitting the way they are this week, you think you would have got more than 2 wins. But that's how poor the pitching has been. That's how poor it's been. It's looking like the Athletics or the Nationals, where they have a bunch of guys that are great offensively, but they still only win 70 games. So that's what we want to avoid. All right, Tito, let's get this act together. No more poor pitching performances for the rest of the month, please, for at least the health of the rest of the Reds fan base, at the very least.
It's just it's been a nightmare. But I'm just glad. Obviously, Elly is Elly, and I think we might need to bring back our segment. Is Elly good?
Yeah, I think he's good.
Pretty good.
Both sides of play, he's pretty good.
Yeah, I want to confirm that because he has been just crushing the ball. I think he's already matched his season high last year in home runs. He's hitting 302 with a 904 OPS. I think that's starting shortstop in the All-Star game this year.
Ooh. Yeah, well, unfortunately the fan vote's going to put Mookie Betts in there, So that's kind of
that's sad. We just need to get people on the train. All right, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Versus left-handed pitching, Elly's hitting 288 with a 968 OPS. Versus right-handed pitching, 307, 879 OPS. He's been all around improvement, just overall. And then if we go to his fielding stats, this year, 3 errors. So, he's pretty good.
Yeah. He's pretty good. Yeah.
Pretty good.
But anyway, moving on. We got a couple series this week that I think are hugely pivotal to salvage what's been a 4-12 month so far, 4-11 month so far. It's bad.
Not good.
We got a Phillies team that's really been struggling, and a Cardinals team that's been over, achieving so far in this 2026 season. A lot of things going on this week. I think the Reds are at home for the Cardinals game. They're going to be away for Phillies, I believe.
Yep.
So that will be interesting. I believe they start on Monday, so they get no rest. They're heading to Philadelphia tonight to get onto the Phillies and have some Kyle Schwarber revenge series. I don't know.
He is on pace to hit 67 or 68 home runs this year.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, and they still kind of stink, right? So I'm just looking at the pitching matchups they have going tomorrow.
Is it Andrew Painter versus Nick Lodolo?
Yeah, looks like that. So I believe that game's on Fox 19, so you'll be able to watch that on the regular channels if you've got that, if you don't have Reds.tv. So that'll be nice to see. Hopefully it's the Lodolo getting back to his stuff since he's kind of uneven kind of start since he's been hurt or coming back from being hurt, I should say. So what are your thoughts on the Philly series?
Yeah, so we're going to see Chase Burns in game 2 versus Luzardo.
So we got one win. So
maybe. And then Wednesday, we're going to have Abbott versus Aaron Nola. And all 3 starters for the Phillies have an ERA over 5.5. Painter's at 6.21. Luzardo's at 5.07. And then Nola's at 5.91. So maybe we score some runs. I'm not going to get my hopes up, but I'm not expecting a 15-1 win. But if we could score 7 in at least 1 or 2 of those games, it almost feels like the Cincinnati Bengals, where you can score a lot of you could score expected of you, and then just totally blow it with the bullpen. But I don't know. I feel like the Burn start, that was kind of his bounce back game last year after the terrible outing versus the Red Sox. He came back into that game and really pitched well. I mean, he still gave up a couple runs, I think, but he looked really good. And really, you really got to worry about Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber as your really 2 main threats for them. I think if I can find it, I'm not sure how great I know Adolis Garcia is on that team. I don't know how he's playing. 218 average, 4 home runs for Garcia. Brandon Marsh is another guy you gotta kind of watch out for. He's only got 4 home runs this year too, but he's hitting 329. So he's been hitting the ball for average this year, just not for as much power. And then Trey Turner, which we have a guy in our system we can kind of comp to him in Steele Hall. He's hitting 236 with 4 home runs and just 6 stolen bases, but he's getting up there in age. He's 32 this year. Kind of expected to see him slow down. Bryce Harper, I think he's always a threat. He might not always be putting up the numbers, but he's hitting 282, 12 home runs. You know, he's your 2 guys to really watch out for this year, or for the Phillies anyway, are Schwarber and Harper. And then you can never really count out Alec Boehm, even though he's hitting just 209 with 3 home runs. So, yeah, I think if you really need to bounce back and take advantage of them while they're kind of down. They've had a bit of a hot streak, but they've kind of cooled off again, I believe, if I remember right. They were pretty far down in the division.
Yeah. They've come back online.
They've won 4 in a row.
Yeah.
And they've won 7 out of their last 3, but for a while they were looking really bad. And they just now hit over 500. They were under 500 for a long time. To win 7 out of 3 and be 1 game out of 5, or 7 out of 10 out of, and be just 1 game over 500. For one, that just shows you how good the Braves are. But 2, just how bad that division is. And, I think the Phillies, they're better than what they are or what they've been. I think they're going to come back and be a real contender in the National League. But I mean, we got to beat those guys to show that we belong there too. And to be just 1 game over 500, we're going in with identical records into this game. So we got to really, really show up, because this division's winnable. I mean, the Cubs have lost 6 out of their last 10. The Cardinals have won 6 out of their last 4. Pirates have lost 6 out of their last 10. We've lost 6 out of our last 10, but the Brewers have won 8 out of their last 10. So we really gotta pick it up. But this whole division's lost. The Cubs have lost 2 in a row. The Pirates have lost 3 in a row. We've lost 2 in a row. The Brewers lost 1 game today. Cardinals lost today, but it's up in the air. I mean, like, this team's good enough to win it. It's just the bullpen's got to get back on track.
Yeah, for sure. That is the disappointing part about losing to the Guardians and losing the series overall, is that they could have picked up some, a little bit, at least one game by winning, because the rest of the division lost, even the Pirates, And yeah, I thought the Phillies were actually worse than they were. They actually fought back to being above 500, which is, so this is going to be kind of a series that they really need to try to take 2 out of 3. I know it's on the road, but because of how poorly they've played the last 2 weeks, 2 out of 3 for me is a must, especially with the pitchers that they're going up against that have not. I mean, Aaron Nola has not been great since he got that extension. So, like, they did really need to, I think, at least win 2 out of 3 in Philadelphia. I know Philadelphia's won 4 in a row, but, like, that's when the Reds play their best, right, is against teams that are playing well. They play against teams that are not playing so well. They seem to kind of go to their level. So that's my take. How many games do you think the Reds can do here?
For the whole week?
Or just Philly.
For Philly, I want them to take 2 out of 3. Just don't get swept, really. If they get swept by Philadelphia, I'll shave my beard. I think it's time.
Oh,
because
okay.
I think I texted you while you were on vacation. I haven't shaved in like 3 weeks, and they've been terrible ever since. So if they get swept by the Phillies, I will shave. You will see me next Sunday with a clean baby face.
All right. That was it. Consider that a deal. So now moving on to the Cardinals. A weekend series for Memorial Day, not on Memorial Day, just the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. A team that's been really hot. Jordan Walker seemed to figure out, like you mentioned earlier. I don't know, man. The pitching matchups might be important for that one. Haven't pulled them up, but I feel like the Reds need to get 2 out of 3 for this one as well, because this is at home against a division opponent. When you got swept by the Pirates and swept by the Cubs at the beginning of this month, this cannot. I understand, don't be swept, but this can't be a series you lose at home. This has to be a series you win. You can't be losing division series to, let alone a team that was not expected to be this good this season. You got to get after it. And I don't know what else we really need to say other than home cooking, get the job done 2 out of 3 against these pesky Cardinals.
Yeah, so Jordan Walker, as we kind of talked about, he's hitting .301, 13 home runs, 7 stolen bases. Really took that step in his career. Really, he's 23, younger than Elly, and he's 6'6", 250, big guy. I think there's a lot of comparisons to Elly, but him being a right fielder, he's really, really taken that leap. Another guy on that team, Mason Wynn, 255, 4 stolen bases. Hasn't taken that leap yet either, but he's still just 24. They sold a lot of pieces off. Just kind of going through here, I don't recognize anybody on this roster. I don't know anybody.
Anyway, that's why they're playing better, is because they got rid of all their bums.
I think they got Dustin May. I recognize him. Matthew Liberatore, Kyle Leahy. I guess it's pronounced Lee. Lay, Leahy. Don't know. He's 28, 5-3, 3.94 ERA. He's a starter, 45 innings, a 1.55 WHIP. I don't know a whole lot about the Cardinals. I have not been following them at all. They're the Cardinals. Why should I? But we're a Red show, dang it. But yeah. But yeah, I don't get swept by them either. We got to win division games. We've been terrible against the division this year. I think we're 1-9 on the season. We won the one game versus Pittsburgh in Cincinnati, and we got swept on the road in both series against the Pirates and the Cubs on the road. Got to do something better than that, and that's about all I got. You can't get swept. Just can't get swept.
Yeah, I'm okay with a 3-3 week overall if 2 out of the 3 wins are against the Cardinals. Sweep against the Cardinals would make my week, and 4-2 week. That would make it a lot better if, let's say, we lose the Philadelphia series. But yeah, it's got to be something where this division water finds its level. There's no way we're going to go 1-9 this rest of the way, type of winning percentage against the division. If that's the case, I guess Fangrass is right, and we're going to be the bottom of the division if we're going to play like that against in-division opponents. But I don't think so. I think we get right, get our series going against the Cardinals, and hopefully a winning series against the Philadelphia Phillies as well to get this month back on track.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much summed it up no better way than I could have.
Yeah, so let's do that. Let's go on that note. Positive. Reds are going to go 4-2 this week then, by my math, and we're going to be back in the driver's seat, hopefully in the division, at least competitive wise, because it's kind of crazy, the NL Central at the moment. But you know what I mean? You got to play the teams that are ahead of you, and right now, some decent opponents in the Phillies and the Cardinals, but that's baseball, man. You gotta keep winning.
Just gotta keep trucking. You gotta, you're only as good as your next day. And there's 162, the old cliche, and one of 162. But eventually, 162 becomes 162, and you're looking back like, man, what did we do wrong? But yeah, I mean, you gotta go out there and just perform. And you need I guess my biggest thing is we gotta see improvement from this bullpen, and just can't keep walking guys with the bases loaded and giving up home runs.
For sure. Well, let's not talk about that next week. Let's make a pact on that, Ricky. But yeah, if there's nothing else that you got, yeah, exactly. Shake on that. No more walks, no more home runs, bullpen, and then we can sing your praises this time next week. But until then, go Reds.
Go Reds.